Hello corrosion engineers, pipeline coders, and anybody else who stumbled across my page. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Raffoon LLC. Here on this channel, we routinely talk about pipeline coatings and pipeline protection. And as always, that's what we're talking about today. This is going to be part of a series that I'm going to be putting together that focuses primarily on the methods of pipeline installation called horizontal directional drilling, just one component of the trenchless installed pipelines, and then the protection methods for those, the coatings, and the issues that come out of our lack of regulation on those types of areas. So we're going to jump in today starting with what it is we're talking about at all, which is trenchless installed pipe. All right, there's a number of trenchless installed methods. They are thrust boring, or some called slick boring, direct pipe, horizontal directional drilling, or commonly referred to as HDD. There's a couple others, but they're pretty much variations of those. And we're going to focus primarily on HDD because HDD is by far the most common and used for the longest distances of those systems. So let's talk about what is an HDD. An HDD, horizontal directional drill, is used when you need to install pipe and you can't dig a trench. Most of the pipeline is installed, somebody goes along the right of way, digs a trench, you do all the coating and pipeline fabrication up above the trench, and then you lay it into the ground. It's a fairly safe way to move pipe into the ground without causing damage. HDD, however, is employed by creating a hole on one side of an area that you want to install pipe in, boring underneath the area you want to span across, coming out the other side, reaming a hole sufficient in size to get the pipe through, stringing up your pipe on one side, and then dragging it through that hole, literally dragging it through the hole. So that's what HDD is. So when do you choose to do an HDD? Well, HDD only makes up maybe, 3 to 8% of the pipeline, depending on who's building it and what area you're in. But that 3 to 8% is installed by HDD because you have something in front of you that is generally considered immovable or cannot be disturbed. So what does that include? That includes bodies of water, lakes, rivers, aqueducts. It includes things like roads, highways, railroads, any form of transportation method really. You wouldn't want to go through an airport either. And then also buildings, and populated areas. So if you're going to go through downtown, you don't want to dig up downtown, you want to go underneath it. And if you're going to go and supply pipe to a neighborhood or through a neighborhood, you don't want to dig up the neighborhood to put it in, you will bore underneath it. So, given all of those areas where HDD is used, I want to explain to you why I focus so heavily on the importance of doing an HDD and protecting it right when you build it. The definition of a high consequence area from PHMSA is an area that includes populated areas, drinking water sources, and unusually sensitive ecological resources. So basically, all the things that I just mentioned where we use HDDs should fall into the category of high consequence areas. What's a high consequence area? High consequence area is simple. It's when something bad happens to that pipeline, something bad happens to people or things that you do not want bad things to happen to. And so an HDD is typically installed in a very high consequence area. Now, I'm not saying that the rest of the pipeline shouldn't be consequential, but if a pipe ruptures in the middle of a farmland somewhere that is in West Texas, you're probably not going to damage a whole lot other than the farmer's land. Now, that's terrible, but you're not going to kill a ton of people or destroy their drinking source. So that's why I bring this up. That's why this is the start of this series. You need to understand that what we're talking about when I talk about HDDs is high consequence areas. where you're going to install pipe, and if something goes wrong with that pipe, you are in trouble. So this is the base understanding you need to go into the rest of this series. I'm going to cover in future videos what you need to do to protect your HDD, what the regulation says currently about protecting HDDs, and how to consider your CP current and whether or not it's really effective in an HDD. There will probably be other components to this, but those are the big ones that people are going to have questions about. So stay tuned and you'll see more coming up. Right now, you need to know HDD equals high consequence areas, or HCA. Okay? Thanks for your attention. Love to hear from you guys. If you got any other comments or questions about this, there will be more videos, but please drop a comment, like and subscribe to my channel, and you'll get more and more updates as I post them. Hopefully they become more and more frequent, as I tend to have more time these days, even though I'm not wearing a mask. So clearly I'm filming this in 2020. That's why the mask reference, in case you're watching this in 25 years from now. Have a good day.